In most shounen manga, the authors usually tease the fans with characters who would end up together at the end of the series. In some, these ships are obvious to see. For instance, in Bleach, Ichigo and Orihime were a thing since day one. In some other series, these ships are not easy to see. For instance, in Naruto, Naruto ended up with Hinata, despite his long-time crush on Sakura. Black Clover, being a typical shounen, also follows this trend, as many characters have been teased to end up with each other at the end of the series. Some ships are much more probable than others. Therefore, having that thought in mind, we came up with a list of the top 15 most probable ships which could end up in marriage at the end of the series, up to chapter 304. The list will of course be updated in due time as the story progresses. So, before we begin, please subscribe to the channel for more related content, and do not forget to hit the notification bell in order to get notified once we release future content. Thanks for subscribing. Without further ado, let us cue the intro. We began our list from the least probable ship to the most probable one. Okay, let us begin the countdown. At the 15th spot, we had Secret Swallowtail and Lemuel Silvermillion Clover. This ship was introduced during the final part of the Elves' invasion arc, as Lemuel was brought back to life by Secret. Though it was not clear whether Lemuel had feelings for Secret, Secret did showcase her loyalty and presumable love for her prince, even after 500 years. The reason why this ship is last on the list is because Lemuel died, or better still disintegrated, after the fight with Zagred. At the 14th spot, we had Yuno and Sylph. This ship was introduced early on in the series, by the author himself. This ship is more of a running gag in the series. Despite the gag-like nature of the ship, we thought it wise to add it to this list, since it is recurring. This ship is really one-sided, with Sylph usually making advances towards Yuno, and Yuno immediately declining. To be honest, I don't even know how this could ever work, so I believe this one is an impossibility. In 13th place, we had Asta and Sister. This ship too was introduced more or less as a gag, with Asta proposing to Sister every now and then, and Sister giving him a beating for his advances. Sister Lily is not only a nun, but more or less the maternal figure of both Asta, Yuno, and the orphans. So this ship is also another one which would never come to pass. In the 12th place, we had Langris and Finesse. The only reason why this ship is not lower on this list is because of the possibility that Finral dies at the end of the series. If so, the head of House Vaude could still push for Langris to marry Finesse. After all, this was all but an arranged marriage. In 11th place, we had Yuno and Charmy. This ship was also introduced early on in the series by the author, with Charmy making sly advances towards Yuno, which usually irritates Sylph, and Yuno mistaking those advances for gestures of charity. After all, most often than not, they do involve food. The issue with this ship is, no one knows where it could go, since Yuno has not yet shown interest in anyone. However, since Yuno is a royal from the Spade Kingdom, he might have to marry royalty as well. Too bad for Charmy. In 10th place, we had Asta and Secret. After Secret's massive character development arc, Secret was advised by a dying Lemuel to have fun with the people she met in this era. Secret owes Asta a huge debt of gratitude, as he was the one who killed Zagred, the being who not only ruined her past, but was responsible for the death of her friends and the man she loved. A fun fact about this is that many in the community assume that Secret does not know how to express her feelings for Asta, so most often, she resorts to pecking him in her bird form. Tied in 10th place, we also had Loropechika and Gadja. This ship is actually a new one. However, with Gadja recently giving almost all his life force to kill Megicula, just so that she does not kill Loropechika, one could wonder whether he did this out of loyalty to his queen, or for the woman he loves. In 9th place, we had Yami and Vanessa. This ship is a fan favorite, and was also introduced early on. The ship seems one-sided, given Vanessa tries her best to make advances to Yami, who seems to be unfazed by her advances. After all, similar to Charmy, these advances involve not food, but alcohol. Yami was the one who literally freed her from her prison. This left a very big impression on her, and led to her joining the Black Bulls. Tied in 9th, we had Ril Boismortier and Charmy Papitson. This ship, to be honest, is perfect. However, it is one-sided, as Ril fell in love with adult Charmy. Ril pretty much might not even know that the girl of his dreams is closer than he thinks. After all, he did train with Charmy, under the spirit guardian Petrov. In 8th, we had Gauche Adlai and Grey. This ship began emerging in the fandom, during the Seabed Temple arc, and became even more conspicuous in the subsequent arcs. In the most recent arc, we got to find out a little more about Grey, and how Gauche had a strong influence on her growth. Grey's magic even evolved recently, while she was trying to save Gauche's life. If that is not the power of love, then I do not know what love is. In 7th, we had Asta and Rebecca Scarlet. Asta and Rebecca are very good friends. They are both peasants, and have many siblings as well. Their relationship with their siblings pretty much paved the way for this ship. Rebecca decided that she was going to make Asta fall in love with her. She is the boldest of Asta's love interests, as she even went ahead to kiss him on the cheek. In 6th, we had Asta and Mimosa. This ship is another of the fan favorites, as many would prefer that Asta ends up with a lady that is easygoing, than with a lady that has got attitude. Noel fans, I am sorry, Mimosa has fallen in love with Asta, and despite her shy personality, she is actively trying to get stronger, so that she might be someone that Asta can depend on. Now, all that is left is the top 5, and that means these are the most probable to end up in marriage at the end of the series. In 5th, we had Mars and Farna. From childhood friends, to strangers, to friends once more. This ship had a pretty rough start, as due to Morris' experiments on kids, Farna had to sacrifice herself for Mars, as she never wanted to fight him. Mars thought that Farna had died, only to find out later that she had not only survived, but did not even recognize him anymore. This was because Farna had been taken over by Farna the elf. After the defeat and death of Farna the elf, Farna came back to her senses, and both parties agreed never to leave each other again. Isn't that true love? In 4th, we had Yami and Charlotte. This is by far one of the most popular ships in the series. Charlotte is the most beautiful woman in the series, and Yami, he likes to take a dump, haha. Yami constantly teases Charlotte, as she most often does not act like herself when she is close to Yami. Yami was the one who saved her from her curse, and this left a big impression on her too. She has openly declared to her squad members that she likes Yami, and is really willing to fight for that love. We saw her determined not to let Yami die in the current arc, and even having a rivalry with Vanessa in the anime. I believe everyone would agree that this is one of the most probable ships that could end up in marriage at the end of the series. In 3rd, we had Noel and Asta. This is by far the most popular ship in the community, and the only reason it is not first on this list is because, in the case of the other two, both parties are pretty much engaged. Asta was not only one of the first to recognize Noel's abilities, but also one of the first to encourage her, although she could not control her magic. His actions, though sometimes personal, have inspired everyone in the squad, but to Noel, they have more significance, as she recently came to the conclusion that she loves Asta. In 2nd place we had Finral and Finesse. As previously mentioned, the elder son of House Vaude is currently betrothed to King Kira's niece Finesse. Finral is trying his best to overcome his bad habits. Finally, the cherry on top is Fanzel and Dominanti Code. Code is betrothed to Fanzel, and these two are probably the closest to getting married. Alright guys, what were your thoughts about our list? Did we miss anything? If so, let us know in the comment section. Also, please do not forget to subscribe to the channel for more